turn to page number 401, paragraphs 1685 thereon. Your financials are quite good. If you do a comparison between 2012 and 2013, there was a 45.2% increase in your IGF. Exactly what did you do differently to have generated this amount of IGF?
Prior to 2013, we had a licensing regime where the operators, the new operators that we register or we license, they pay annual license fees. And when you pay the annual license fee, that's what you pay throughout. But when I came in, I realized that that wasn't fair, because when we are licensing a new operator, you don't need to pay only the annual operating fee, but you need to pay a certain amount of money for license fee that we give for 5 years. We give the license for 5 years, renewable every 5 years. But then every year you have to be in good standing by paying annual operating fee. So I went to the board to seek approval for us to implement that policy. So based on that, those operators that had been there previously for up to 5 years, we had to mobilize for them to come and renew their 5-year license, which had expired. So that raked in more. And then, more importantly too, we took steps to ensure that we have a lot of illegal operators out there, because they were operating before the commission came into being in 2004. The commission became operational in September 2004. So we had to put in more effort to ensure that those that were already operating come to register, and then we generate something from them. So we undertook a lot of activities, exercise, to make sure that we go to the bus terminals. So you realize that we have OA, STC, all of them now licensed as courier operators. So by way of that exercise, we managed to get a whole lot of them coming on board. So as I said, in 2012 you had about 36. By 2013 we have increased the numbers to about almost 60. Then currently we are about 120 licensed operators in the country.
So currently you have about 120 licensed operators. Do you know whether have you done an audit of the sector to see how many are operating illegally, and what steps are you taking to ensure that you bring everybody on board and not just close them down? Because once you close them down, it means people are going to lose jobs, but also encourage them to be registered with you in order that they would continue to operate.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. I think that is very important. As I stated earlier, a lot of these operators operating illegally were there before the commission came into being. Therefore, we adopted the carrot and cane approach. We use the carrots to get them to understand that we have a regulator in the system now, and you need to come under the regulating ambit of the commission. So we gingerly did that exercise. But after 10 years, around 2014, we realized that now we need to be going the other way by way of using enforcement more. So we have actually liaised with the Ghana Police Service. So once in a while, they assist us to carry out swoops to make sure that those that are operating illegally are arrested. Some of them are even prosecuted. Then with the changing face of technology, now you have online service providers, and some of them are actually veering into courier delivery services. So we also realized that we have to look at that aspect. So those online business companies, we went to them, and then we urged them to come and pick up license, because by our law you cannot operate a courier service without a license issued by the commission. So we look at that aspect, and so currently we are actually doing a lot in that respect. So the police service is also assisting us. Then also we realized that we are a very small commission. The numbers are not quite good, but then we are supposed to have presence across the whole country, because you go to Takoradi with the oil coming on board, a lot of business are coming up there. You have this courier business also coming in there. So we decided to have liaison offices for a start. So we go to Takoradi, we have a liaison office. We go to Kumasi, we have a liaison office for the Middle Belt. Then we go to Tamale, we have a liaison office. So we are doing that to make sure that we get all of them on board. There are a lot of them in the system, I must admit, especially if you take the transport operators. Go to every transport station, and people are sending parcels to their kids in secondary schools and what have you. But we are liaising with the GPRTU to make sure that we bring them.
Chairman, I'm grateful.
According to the report, it is seen that the Commission doesn't have a policy on depreciating your fixed asset. Can you explain to the Commission the committee why it is so?
This issue came to my attention when this audit was done in 2014, and so immediately it came to my attention, I instructed the accounts office to look at that aspect critically. So we liaised with the controller and then the Minister of Finance. So subsequently, we have a policy guidelines which we are using to depreciate our assets over the period. So the subsequent report will indicate that we have taken this advice into. But as a matter of fact, because we currently don't have a board, we may wait when the board comes to give approval to what we have prepared as management, so that we can go ahead with it. Thank you very much.
Thank
So, Chairman, if you look at it, it's clear that they are under government subvention, and the subvention mainly they use it to pay compensation. Because if you look at the 2013 year under compensation, if you look at the 2013, the subvention was to the tune of 127,737, and your compensation is 127,737. So am I right to say that mostly the compensation comes to your organization to take care of salaries and compensation in general? Am I right to say that?
Mr. Chairman, if I got the question right, the compensation is the salaries payable to the staff of the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'm coming. What I'm saying, if you look at the operational results, government subvention 127,737. Are you there? Yes. Then compensation for that year and the review 127,737. And I'm saying, am I right to say that you use the government subvention to clear off salaries?
That's what it is. The government subvention that came for over the period was only the salaries that were paid, but the other goods and services were not actually released. So we had to rely on our IGF to support our operational activities.
Very much. If you go back and look at 2012, government subvention is to the tune of 219,489, and those year 2002, 192,600 was used to pay salaries or for compensation, leaving a balance of 26,889. It means that you use 87 of the 2012 compensation to take care of compensation.
Mr.
87%.
Mr. Chairman, what it actually means, our subvention that we get from government, we have the employees' salaries, then we have the goods and services, and then the keepers. Now, the employee salaries, that is fixed. Once they work over the period, they have to be paid. But then the goods and services, it depends on whether we have releases from the Ministry of Finance or not, and then the keepers. For those periods that we are talking about, we didn't have the release for the goods and services and then the keepers for 2013. In 2012, we have a little amount. The difference that you see there is the one that was released for the goods and services. That's how come you have a difference between the government subvention and then the employees' compensation.
You indicated in your earlier evidence or testimony that Ghana Post is your main licensed operator. How are you protecting Ghana Post?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. The area of protection that the law grants to Ghana Post I alluded to it earlier, that has to do with the reserved margin, the reserved area, where letter mail of up to 100 grams, no other person is entitled to operate within that space. So that way, Ghana Post is protected. And then when it comes to small parcels up to 20 kgs, so Ghana Post is protected.
As part of your regulation and your licensing regime, do you demand for annual returns, including audited financials of your licensees?
As part of the registration, that is not a requirement. But then, if you look at the schedule to our law, our regulations, it tells you that where we require that information for the purpose of enforcing the act, then we'll request for it. So in instances where it has become necessary that we need to get operators to submit such documents, we write to them to request for it.
In an answer to an earlier question on how many operators you have licensed, you said at least 120. 120. First time who applied for license, how much do you charge?
For a first timer, we have categories. We have international and we have domestic.
Okay.
When we license you as international, we have also the large, medium, and then small. The same thing applies to the domestic.
Okay.
For domestic small, you initially pick a license application form for 150 Ghana cedis.
150
Ghana cedis. Then, when your application has when your application has been approved, then you pay 2,000 cedis. That is what I said was introduced to make sure that no money.
And it's valid for how many years?
The 2,000 is valid for 5 years.
5 years.
But then every year you are supposed to renew at 1,500 Ghana.
1,500 Ghana cedis.
Yes.
So are you required to pay cash or you can take it and pay later?
No, we don't allow that to take and pay later. No.
So what do you do?
You pay before we.
So first time you pay cash, re-registration or renewal you pay cash.
Yes, you pay the total.
So apart from registration and licensing fee, what other source of IGF do you have?
As a matter of fact, that's our only source of IGF.
So if you register and renew, and you pay spot cash, how does debtors arise in your books? Debtors.
Thank you very much. Let me explain the debtors aspect. We don't actually have debtors, but you usually have one. The reason being that the Fees and Charges Act that we operate with, Ghana Post, which is the major national operator, its license fee obligation is calculated based on its previous year's accounts. And usually by the third month in March, their account for the previous year has not actually is not ready. So usually you find out that whilst all other operators would have paid by March 31st for the current year, Ghana Post for this particular year will delay. So we will enter the following year while Ghana Post has not actually finished paying for the previous year. So our debtor is only Ghana Post. We don't have any other debtor on our books.
Thank you.